Hey, welcome back to Bride Raise. This is Proverbs chapter 6 we're looking at. I called this 7 Abominations, because that's how this chapter ends. Chapter 6, God tells us things that he hates, and so we need to pay attention to this, obviously. And so we're looking at today is 16 through 19, which says, "There are 6 things that the Lord hates, 7 that are abomination to him. Haughty eyes, a lying tongue, and hands that shed innocent blood, a heart that devises wicked plans, feet that make haste to run to evil, a false witness who breathes out lies, and one who sows discord among his brothers." So he says there's 16 God hates, 7 things that are abomination. Of course, things that are abomination are things that God hates. And things that God hates are abominations. So this is just most people would see this as just a kind of a Hebraic way of just emphasizing like these things are horrible, these things are really bad, and kind of just a way to, it's a word kind of play, not really a word play, but a device, a word device, a grammatical device to kind of point to the fact that these things are horrendously evil. These things are horribly evil. So let's see what they are, because if they're that bad, if these things are what God calls an abomination, we should make note of these and make sure that we're not doing them, right? So the first thing he says is haughty eyes. So this is pride in oneself, right? That defies God-given shame for sin. So this is pride of self, pride of life, right? This is thinking more highly of yourself than you ought to. I would argue that there is some place there is maybe good pride, but most of our pride in ourself is evil. It is straight from Belial, from the worthless person. So a worthless person loves pride, is what he's saying. And pride in oneself. Now, you can have pride in your nation. You can have pride in other people. Paul talks about having pride in other people, pride in other Christians. That's fine. But self-pride, that is evil. That is, because what does that pride do? That pride says, I'm good. I'm a really good person. And it denies shame for sin. So when someone with haughty eyes walks around thinking more highly than they should of themselves, and really you shouldn't debase yourself. You should say, you know what, I don't deserve anything, and that's what it is. So like, oh yeah, I'm okay. Are you okay though? No, you're not. None of us are. We're all sinners, right? So the haughty eyes thing, man, that is a source of all kind. But God hates that. He hates, it's an abomination. He has cursed that. He says pride, haughty eyes is evil, because it really does defy what God has given to us. God has given us shame so that we wouldn't think more highly of ourselves than we ought to. That's what sin does. Sin should cause shame. But what do? We have haughty eyes, right? We like, ooh, look at me. I'm so great. Or I'm looking at you and look how bad you are. You are the worst. Like, what I do is great. What you do is bad. I mean, that is pride. What, right? I mean, that's what pride is all about. I mean, that is the nation. The U.S. is all about pride, and I'm not talking just about gay pride, which is an abomination as well. But I mean, you could have heterosexual pride and still be abomination. It's the same idea. Like, you should not have pride in yourself. Oh, you deserve this. You need this. It's all about me. No. That's haughty eyes. God says he hates that. That's a worthless person who does that. That's a wicked person. That's someone who is aligned with Belial, who does these things, who thinks that way. Don't think highly of yourself. The more you think of God, the less you're going to think of yourself. So if you're thinking highly of yourself, you're really not thinking about God, are you? No, you're not. So, pride in oneself, haughty eyes, that is an abomination. God hates that. So if you see that in yourself today, get rid of that, right? Don't be prideful in yourself. If someone else has pride in you, like you have pride in your children when they do well, You can have pride in your spouse. Have pride in others. That's fine. Like, wow, you did a great job. That makes me feel good about you. It's great. Paul had pride for other Christians. That's what we should do. Imitate him as he imitated Christ. That's the idea. Um, but yeah, we don't want to have pride in ourselves. That's haughtiness. And so that needs to go away. That God hates that. Let other people have pride in you. You don't need pride in yourself. Why do you need pride in yourself? Because other people don't have pride in you. Why? Because they're probably doing sin. So there's a lot of issues with that. I mean, we could talk about that all day long. Because there's just so many things. I mean, there's so many examples in the world today of pride that is just twisted and evil. I mean, you can have so much pride in yourself that you have no shame anymore. I mean, an easy one is the gay pride parades, right? They have so much pride in themselves, right? In yourself, that you don't have any shame for what you're doing. And that's the problem. Like, there's no shame. You shouldn't feel shame. Oh, that's, you're being hateful and stuff like that. No, I should feel shame too for who I am and what I do. If it's not aligned with God, then yeah, definitely. I shouldn't be walking down the street. If I'm a liar, I shouldn't have lie pride day. Like, hey, I'm a liar. Hey, it's liar pride day. Let's have parades for it and walk down the street and say, hey, look how great of a liar I am. I'm lying to you right now. We don't do that, Or we should say, hey, we're having a liar pride parade tomorrow, and actually it is today. But we don't do that. We don't have murderer pride day. We don't have, winking with your eye day, right? Like, I'm not saying what I mean day. So we don't do that because we know that's wrong, and for whatever reason, our culture has gone along with this. And I think people are waking up and saying, "Hey, this is we're not having worthless person day. Let's have Belial day. You're actually worshiping another god. That's what you're doing. You have taken Belial, and you're parading down the street saying, hey, we love Belial. We worship Belial. You're saying, oh, it's gay pride, but really you're saying it's Belial day. So that's what it says. Now, I know I can get me into a lot of trouble by saying that, but you know what? I don't care because this is what the Bible talks about. Haughty eyes, pride, it's evil. Next, lying tongue. That's what subverting the truth. You know the truth, and you're, subverting it. Paul said that in Romans chapter 1. That's what people do. Subvert the truth with lies. So abomination to God is lying, having a lying tongue. Again, we know this. This makes sense. Liars, whether it's in court or out of court, that's evil, right? So don't have a lying tongue. Just say the truth. It's like really has to do with like subverting the truth. So there's the truth, but then you're trying to cover that up. You're trying to, subject it to you. You're trying to put it down. You're probably trying to push it under the water, and pretend it's not there. Who was I? I was just listening. Someone talking about. Who was it? They were talking about. Greg Bonson. Bonson was talking about how if you go in the pool and you can play a game with put the volleyball, you're kind of someone gets the volleyball and they sit on the volleyball and in the under the water, and then you like try to guess who has the volleyball kind of game where you're sitting on the ball. And who has the ball? I don't have the ball. You're trying to subvert the truth. You're lying, right? You're like, I don't have the ball. But really, what's the problem? The ball is what you're sitting on the ball, so you're kind of floating on the ball, right? So the ball is holding you up. It's touching you. You're in contact with the ball constantly. It's pushing you up, but you're subverting it because you're keeping it under the water. Because if it comes out, then you lose, right? And so this is the game that people play. They're subverting it. They're putting the volleyball underneath them, and they're hiding it. And so That's not what we want to do. We don't want to subvert the truth. We want to be ones for the truth. We want to stand for the truth. The next thing he says, the hands that shed innocent blood. Now, right? Yes. Hands that shed innocent blood. You go to John 8:44. It says, "You are of your father, the devil, and your will is to do your father's desire. He was a murderer from the beginning, and does not stand in the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he lies, he speaks out of his own character, for he is a liar and the father of lies." See, lying and then being quick to shed innocent blood, to be a murderer, that's what Belial does. That's what the devil does. That's what a worthless person does. And God hates that. God hates when people shed blood, murder someone for no reason. There's no reason. This person is not guilty of a crime, therefore they should not be killed. Right? God sees that as an abomination. He hates that. We should not be okay with that. Now, there are times when taking a life is good. Like when they murder someone, that person should die. That is, by God, a lawful taking of a life. The original one wasn't, but when they took someone else's life, then they forfeited their own. They did that on purpose. They knowingly gave up their own life by taking someone else's. And that's how it was supposed to be. Of course, in our country, for the most part, it doesn't really matter if you kill someone. You just get thrown in jail and get to hang out for another. You get clemency from hell. We give people a break. Like, oh, we're for justice. How is that just? You're sparing them from hell. You're giving them a break. Yeah, it's gonna last for all eternity, but still, you're not doing justice to these people. They murdered someone. Therefore, they forfeit their life, and they should go to hell immediately. They should not get to hang out on earth where they're under the common grace of God. They get the sunshine and the rain and get to eat. And like, oh, people talk, well, at least they're not out doing something. Yeah, okay. But why are you perverting justice? I mean, it really is a perversion of justice. Justice says they lose their lives because they've murdered someone as the right thing to do. But instead, you're letting them live. For what reason? It's not hurting them. Like, you're actually giving them something good. You're rewarding their murder by allowing them to stay in jail. I don't get it. But that's what we do. Like rapists. We give them, 3 years in jail? Like, they just stole something from a person that they can never get back. You destroyed them. And then you get to, 3 years in jail? And then they get to live a normal life? Like, that doesn't make any sense at all. I'm sorry. But anyway, I digress. Next thing is a heart that devises wicked plans. Coveting, envy, revenge, planning to do sin, how to get away with sin, all these kind of things. That's what they do. God hates a heart that devises wicked plans, whether it's doing the wickedness or, just coveting, like, ooh, I'd really like to have what that person has. I want that. Oh, I want that really bad. Envying that person. Oh, look at that person. Look at how beautiful they are. I can't stand that person. That's a person that is devising wicked plans, right? Oh, I can't stand that. Or taking revenge. Or planning to do sin. How many people spend lots of time planning out how they're going to do sin? How am I going to avoid my taxes this year and stuff like that? Don't do that. Don't plan to do sin. And then, how am I going to get away with this? How can I do this sin and not get caught or get in trouble for it? That's what God hates. God hates when people do that. He doesn't want you devising wicked plans. He wants you to be devising good plans and how to take care of people and how to love people. That's what God loves. Next thing is a false witness. God hates false witness. It's an abomination to be a false witness. Exodus 20:16 says, "You shall not bear false witness against your neighbor." Most often, this is referring to legal matters, but not always. A witness stands for and represents the truthfulness of another. If you're being a witness for someone, you are standing for the truth, whether it's for the defense or the prosecution. You are being a witness. You are standing for the truth. That's what you're supposed to be doing. So a false witness, you're getting up there and perverting justice. You're perverting the truth. You're standing for something. You're saying, I stand for truth, because you're a witness, right? I'm saying what happened. This is exactly what happened. This is what I saw. And then if you're lying about it, you're taking truth and just dumping it in the trash and saying, I don't really care. I don't care about truth. Well, you should think twice, because Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. He identified himself with the truth. Oftentimes in that verse in John, it's capitalized, right? I'm the way, capital way, life, capital L, truth, capital T. He's taking those words as names for himself. And so here we come along and say, well, yeah, I'll stand for truth, and then lie. Not a good thing. And then finally, we get back to the idea of a sower of discord amongst brothers. Now, the word brother here can refer to those that are born of the same parents, like Joseph and Benjamin, where this word is used for them. They were brothers, right? It could be in reference to a relative. Abram called his nephew a brother, which is the same word here. Or it's used figuratively for two similar things. They're brother things, They're like we would say, those are twinning. They're twinning, they're similar. They're not, biological twins. They weren't born from the same mother, but they are similar. And they're together in a group, that's the idea. So this could obviously refer to the church, right? The brothers. And so that's what this word could be used for too, is a group of people who are similar. Obviously, Christians are similar because we're all called by Christ. And so the idea here is stirring up discord amongst these people that are related together, that should be together, right? Brothers who are born of the same mother should be together. Relatives should be together. Abraham and Lot, they're brothers. And then the church, we're brothers and sisters, right? So that's what he's talking about here. People come in and sow discord amongst the brothers. They use gossip, right? Slander. They pit someone against another. They do that on purpose. They attack and then pretend everything is okay. I've seen this over again. They're passive aggressive. I've seen this, especially women, passive aggressiveness. I really think we should do this. Wouldn't that be nice if we did that? It's, they say stuff like that, but really they're being passive aggressive and be like, well, I think I'm right and you need to do this. But there's, wouldn't it be nice if we had this? Don't you think it would be nice? Like, just say, this is what you want to do. And I can say, no, I don't want to do that. Don't be a sower of discord. Now you go around, and then they're going around. Wouldn't it be nice if we had? Hey, what do you think about this idea? Wouldn't you think that's nice? Don't do that. Don't do that, man. That is passive aggressiveness. That is saying one thing and meaning another. Just stop it. Don't gossip. Don't slander other people. Don't pit one. And sometimes people who are sowers of discord are speaking the truth. They are speaking the truth. They're pointing out Scripture, but the way they do it, the tone that they use. Not do you have to be the tone police or anything else like that, but they're seeking to sow discord. They're not seeking to correct someone. They're not seeking to rebuke someone. They're just trying to tear things up. They're just pot stirrers, right? You don't want to be a pot stirrer. You want to be the one who stands for the truth. Now, you might be labeled as a pot stirrer. That's fine. But if you have the truth on your side, if you can argue it biblically, then okay. That's what I've always said with people. Like, I don't care if you disagree with me, because I know I disagree with a lot of people, and that's okay. We can do that in the church. That's fine. We can have different opinions on baptism and eschatology and those kinds of things. That's fine if we disagree. But we don't want to be sowers of discord when it comes to that kind of stuff. And that's unfortunately the history of the church, right? People sowing discord. Um, you know, we disagree on something, and then we start fights with people. We start battling. We won't be gracious. We won't, um, allow people to have other opinions. If it's a matter of truth and evil, then yeah, stand for truth. But if it's a matter of opinion, or if it's been, like the idea of like eschatology, there's been at least four major camps of eschatology, but there's all kinds of variations in there, right? Even if there's a stance that you particularly take, even within that, there's huge variations. Um, and for us to be like, well, I think my way is right, and you're stupid for believing something else, you're just sowing discord. Like, argue your point. Show us from the Bible where you believe you're right, or why you interpret that way. That's fine. That's good. Go ahead. But if when you come off as a jerk and like, well, the rest of you guys, or you say things like, well, I think they could be Christians. We need to be careful with that kind of stuff, because now you're just sowing discord. Because it's passive aggressive, right? Well, we could say like, we often do that when it comes to people we don't agree with. Like, well, I mean, I guess they could be a Christian. Like, whoa, really? You want to go there? Okay. But you're just sowing discord. Because if you don't really know that they're not a believer, then why are you suggesting that? Now you're just putting little seeds of discord. You're not causing major problems. You're just coming in there and just tweaking a little bit, just needling a little bit, just saying, I don't know, I have some doubts with these people. But why? Well, I'm just saying. I'm just saying. So it happens all the time, and I have to. I used to have problems with this. I used to want to sow discord when I was young. Yeah, when I first started college. But then I realized, like, man, there's a lot of people that have different views on stuff, and they're all within orthodoxy. So I'm not going to question people about that. We can have our own differing views, and we can, if we need to separate because of those, that's fine. I mean, if you can't handle what I'm teaching, what I'm saying, you need to go somewhere else, that's fine. You can have different opinions. You don't have to, but then like people act stupid. It's like they don't want to come talk to you about it. Like, oh, I don't know how you're gonna act. Well, have I ever been angry with you before? No. I didn't know how you're gonna respond. I'm gonna respond like I am now. Like, I don't understand what you're saying, but like, it's just people want to know and feel like they're always right. I don't have to have that. When I was younger, yeah, definitely, but not anymore. Because I'm looking at this now, it's like, well, this is a worthless person. This is something God hates. God hates it. I gotta stay far from that. I need to be as far from it as I possibly can. And if someone asks me like, well, what do you believe on this? Well, I'll tell them. Now that might cause them to be like, well, now I'm gonna have to leave. Okay, or you should leave. That's fine too. If you guys, the church is like, Dave, we don't we want you to stop teaching this. I'm like, well, I mean, it's hard for me not to teach this way. I'm sorry, so I'm gonna have to leave. That's perfectly good too. So, but that's how these things happen. People just want to sow discord. So don't sow discord. Don't be stupid. Don't be worthless. Be a worthy person, one who can be trusted with stuff, with God's things. And so let's do that instead. So I'll end there for today. I probably already said too much and get myself in trouble, but that's the way it goes. So let's end there and come back next time, and we'll look at the end of our study.